Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
What's happening, everybody? Look, I'm going to welcome you back to another episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. This is Jay Moore, your healthy accountant, helping you to account for your life. Man, happy Sunday. Just want to wish you an awesome and incredible last week of September 2022. Let's close out this quarter becoming more of who we are. Man, today we're going to unpack, we're going to continue this conversation about gifts and, some things that, gifted people struggle too, right? A lot of gifted people struggle and potentially don't become fulfilled. We're going to talk about, the one thing that I'm not going to say everybody, gifted people, a lot of people that you look up to and I look up to that could be potentially gifted, but they missed one thing. So guys, listen, let's jump right into this. And before we do, I just want to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by drum roll, Living Free Financial Services and the Healthy Accountant, which this company, this business is created to help entrepreneurs, small, 1099 contractors, freelancers, service-based businesses who want to keep more of their money. If you want to keep more of your money, look, you want to head on over to the taxfreewealthchallenge.com. Actually, you don't have to register for the challenge. All you have to do is get the recordings, get the 6 deductions that you've got to master, learn some things about business that you may know, but you may not be fully equipped to handle. That way you can put $5,000, $10,000 back into your pocket so that you can continue growing your business. So head on over to taxfreewealthchallenge.com so that you can get access to that program. All right, so let's jump right into this. Why gifted people struggle. And I thought about this and I said, man, gifted people are amazing individuals, right? Because in Proverbs 18:16, it says, a man's gift maketh room for him and brings him before great people, brings him before great men. And have you ever been in a situation where you've been called up to do something and maybe you've gone to see the president, maybe you've gone to see the president of your company, or maybe you were highlighted for something that you did or potentially could do because it says, man, we got to bring this person in. Where do gifts come from? Yesterday, we talked about where gifts comes from, and so spiritual gifts come from the Holy Spirit, right? See, we all come equipped. Everyone comes to the planet. We all come equipped with gifts. We come equipped with gifts. And here's the thing. Now, sometimes it takes a while to cultivate the first one. Anybody ever had trouble trying to figure out, man, what is my gift? I don't know what that is. Look, when people used to talk about people that were gifted when I was young, back living in Newark, New Jersey, 77 Orton Street, 122 South 7th Street. It's funny, I pulled up both of those addresses yesterday so I can show my son and his girlfriend. I says, look, this is where I used to live. This is the humble beginnings. And that's where the gifts were being cultivated. That's the environment that I had to grow up in. And wow, that was a rough environment. But let's consider this. Everybody starts somewhere. And I remember back then, I didn't believe there was no gift in me. I didn't believe any of that. No one was helping me to understand, even my parents, because your parents are good and your parents said things like, hey, well, you can do anything. And yes, I can do anything within the abilities that I've already been given, because I can't be 7 foot. Some things I'm not going to be able to do. So growing up, not knowing what your gift is, then how do you actually find out what it is? I believe the fastest path for a person to discover their uniqueness and become super confident is to find out what your spiritual gift is first. That's the fastest path. Why? Because when you When you turn over your life, think about this. And it wasn't until I personally turned over my life, I yielded my life to God and to the Spirit. When I yielded my life, everything changed. All of a sudden, it was kind of like you heard the terminology scales on the eyes and stuff like that. I had scales on my eyes. The scales on my eyes came off, and when the scales on my eyes came off, it was almost like I could see the world in a different lens. Now, here's the thing. When you know your gift before you have been fully yielded over to the king, then this is where the challenges come in. This is where potentially a person can be gifted. They could be going before great men, and man, oh man, they get to the point where they start struggling with life. They start struggling, feeling unfulfilled. And this has happened many times. The people that we look up to that have been gifted, folks that are movie stars and singers and writers and, high level people and, even regular people, all of a sudden they're gone. They take their own lives. Really? You were that gifted and you took your own life? Yeah, this is what happens when when you discover your gifts early. What happens is when we're not yielded over, we don't tap into the resource. There's a resource we all possess. We don't tap into this resource that would really help us to manage our gift. And I'm going to break that down in a second, because this is the resource that literally takes your gift to the next level. And when we don't use it, then literally what happens is our gift really doesn't come up to the level where God really wants us to take it. So one more thing you want to realize, that excuse me, when you tap into your gifts early, then it's great. It's nothing like the person that can sing, it's nothing like the person that can play pianos and play the instruments, can dance, can rap, can act. Folks that grew up, knowing that they were going to be speakers when they were young kids and they was always up in front. That wasn't me. None of those things I saw possessed inside of me from when I was a kid. I didn't see speaking. I didn't see, even though I sang and stuff like that, I didn't see it as a gift. I just kind of learned how to carry notes. I didn't see acting. I didn't see leadership. I didn't see any of it. And those are the gifts that many people have early because they're physical gifts, right? Drawing, being able to create things. Those kind of gifts are the external gifts. Those kind of gifts are the gifts that you can automatically see. But when you have an internal gift, man, I'm gonna tell you, I had an internal gift. At least I had an internal gift. See, an internal gift is a lot harder. It's a lot harder to discover. Why? Here's why. Write this down. Internal gifts tend to have more power. Internal gifts tend to have more power. If a person has the gift of faith, or a gift of faith, I'll just say a gift, because faith can be broken down into many different ways. If a person has a gift of faith, it's internal. You are forced to develop that, even though you can probably feel it early in life. I was always positive. I was always looking for the best. I was always expecting the best. At least I wanted to, or at least like that was my desire, to expect the best. I was always expecting that, man, I could. That was in me from the beginning, right? However, I did not understand how that worked and how I could use it. I just knew that was just kind of me. I would be on basketball teams and I would be like the guy, like, man, you got to have Jerry in your team. Like, I may not have been the best player out of all the players, but man, I was one of those players that, man, you just need him. Because here's the thing. Even look, he can really help to bring things together because of this belief, right? Because of this expectation. And when I go to the word and I read, 1 Corinthians 12, and they talk about there's a gift of faith, I'm like, man, I didn't know that early on. I didn't know any of that. But here's the thing. That's neither here nor there, because it's when you yield over your life. See, when you yield over your life, Just because you have these gifts, now we're going to get into the most powerful piece here. Just because you have these gifts does not mean they will mean anything unless, in 1 Corinthians 13, unless you have the gift of love. Write that down. You must have the gift of love so that the gift of love will validate even your spiritual gift. It will validate your physical gifts. It will validate everything. The gift of love. How does that chapter start? Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love, I'm like a sounding brass or a tingling cymbal. Think about this. If you don't have this gift of love, then it's like you just talking. I'm just talking here. If I really don't love turning on my camera, coming on every day, having a conversation with the camera about something, if I didn't love it, do you know I would have stopped already? Like I would have quit because at one point early on, I did complain about it. I would complain. And some days I wake up and I'm just like, I do it again. And it's like, well, it would feel weird not to do it. And when we were on our anniversary last week, I didn't do a podcast for 3 days. It felt weird. I felt like, what is going on? But I said, okay, it's okay. You can take 3 days off. And I gave myself grace because I said, you know what? I love the fact that we can spend time together. And I'd love to do it, but we can take a few days off. But you know what? Man, it couldn't have been more than 3 days. Like seriously. Like I was like if it was, yeah, it couldn't. You know what? Actually, it wasn't because what I did was I said, you know what? I don't want to be off the air. I went back and found a podcast that I could replay. Two of them. I replayed two podcasts last week, and they were from January. And the title of those was Why Transformation is Needed Now. Look, transformation is needed now. Here's why transformation is needed. Because we got to transform into people that love. We got to transform into people that don't just like to run our mouths, but like to love people. I was talking to a group of entrepreneurs that I'm in. It's a I would guess a prayer group, but an entrepreneur group. And I said, well, money is good. Money is good, man. Let's start having more conversations about money because a lot of times folks don't want to talk about money. Folks just want, I don't, I'm cool. Well, it's like this. Everybody's working hard for it. So let's talk about it. Let's not make that a block. And we all have to transform our minds so that we can actually move forward. I mean, something like money, as much as people say, yeah, money's not that important. You show me a person that says money's not that important, and then I said, okay, well, stop working, and then allow your bank account to go to zero, and you tell me if it's important or not. I'm not telling you got to love money more than anything, but one of my mentors says you gotta use the money and love the people. So if you use the money and love the people, then that means you got to have it. And if you don't have it, then it's almost like it's like the entrepreneur. It's like if I don't have any success, if I don't have any success, and I'm trying to get you to have success, how like how do how does that work? How am I helping? So I've got to I have to have something first, right? It's like I was talking to someone last week, and I realized, look, I don't have to be the $1 million person yet, but I'm way ahead of them. And that means I can help them to get to at least to where I am. And that's the thing. So you have to already possess where you're going. And a lot of times the giftedness that we have has to put us in a position to love more. See, when 1 Corinthians starts off and it says, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, it's saying, though you can do these amazing things, though you can say those amazing things, though I'm talking about you can really make some things happen. But if you don't do this, and if you can't do that, then you're out of there. You're weak. You're dumb. You're not even ready. You're not ready. So just that first sentence, we're going to talk about this text this whole week. Just that first sentence lets us know. It just puts a person on blast. It puts a person on blast that you are just making noise. I pray that I'm not just making noise here, because I do love people. I love people so much that I said, man, I wish people would at least know what I know. At least know what I know. At least understand what I understand, right? Because if you at least understand what I understand, then maybe that would help make a shift in your life. Now if you don't need a shift and you're just great, then go out and help other people. So that's what I aspire for every single day. One person, two persons, a few people to be able to hear a word and say, man, that helped me today. And when people give me feedback and says, man, I'm telling you, man, it really helped. And it just lets me know that what God gave me is real. I heard E.T. say in one of his podcasts, he was talking to somebody, and he mentioned how he knew once he knew it worked, once he knew what his gift, how his gift worked, it was like it didn't matter if it was just one. He said he was out in New York City, coming up the street. There was some guy cursing somebody out on the phone, talking about he was going to come and kill the person. And E.T. and his partner, CJ, they're in the way of the person. And so CJ gets out of the way, but E.T. doesn't get out of the way. E.T. just kind of like stands in the guy's way. And when the guy gets all the way up to E.T. grabbed him. And he grabbed him and he starts praying with him. And he said it was that situation that let him know that what he had was real. All it takes is one opportunity. See, your gift yielded over to God first. And then when you activate this feature called love, when you activate that love feature, what happens is everything changes. E.T. activated love on one individual. It wasn't the thousands. This was way before he blew up. See, he says this was way before they weren't even making any money back then, hardly. He said, but he activated because he realized this is what he was made for. What are you made for? Who have you been created to be? What will you do? Activate love, right? Take love, activate that to your gift. And look, I know if we activate it that way, there's nothing that's going to stop us in our experience. But guys, we just have to make sure we yield over our life. We activate it in love and keep moving to our next level. So guys, I thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Account for Life podcast. This is Jay Moore. I'm your healthy accountant. I help you to account for life. God bless, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.